So listen, and feel free to share this with your friends. Obviously, we love it when you do that because it just makes the world a better place. And hopefully we'll give you something now that will, well, I know I will. I know what, for me, what I'm about to share has changed my life. So why it's changed my life is because I used to get extremely frustrated. I knew that I could awaken more quickly. I knew that others could transmute their past more quickly. I was starting to get incredibly frustrated with constantly and consistently analyzing the living heck out of my past. I felt like I just ended up knowing a lot about my past, but not actually thriving moving forward. Another thing that was happening was in my body. I felt like I was constantly having to manage my health, manage my intestines, do cleanses, do all this stuff to try to get better. And I realized that for the rest of my life, if I really wanted to basically survive okay, I would have to not eat certain foods, eliminate wheat and dairy and sugar. I would have to take a ton of supplements and homeopathic remedies and eat all organic. And I thought to myself, well, I would probably do that anyways, but I want to know how to be free of all of that in the first place. There's no way, if I'm a divine child of God, that I have to work that hard. So today I want to talk about the solutions and the evolutions in consciousness and in the tools that higher levels are providing, that life is providing us, that are far beyond the idea of excavating the past and cleansing the living daylights out of you. And having run the largest holistic nutrition practice in Canada, I can tell you that nutrition saved my life, but it didn't get me to thriving. What I'm going to tell you today is what got me to this key ingredient, one of the key ingredients to what got me to thriving. So you guys up for that? I hope so. I also want to share with you that right now I am in Sedona, Arizona, and I'm in a vortex where I love. This vortex is where I love to go hiking so much. So this is where I'm going to share the information all about how to get out of the emotional ups and downs and how to transcend the need to be in deep analysis of the past in order to be free, or to manage the living daylights out of your health in order to have vitality, to transcend all this hard work, if that makes sense. So, well then, Sarah, you're going to love this. Here we go. Let me give you guys a little view. Here's where I am. Here's where I am. Here's where I am. A little tree that's about to blossom. I love that the sun's going down and is highlighting that beautiful cliff up there. It's so gorgeous. Anyways, that's where I am. Isn't it awesome? So, if you've been in Get Out of Your Way, you know already, okay? If you've been in Get Out of Your Way, you know already that going direct with consciousness is one of the things, and getting into a space of neutrality is part of one of the main ingredients of thriving. But people lately have asked me just relentlessly, how is it, and again, I'm going to say to you, if you know anyone that should be here right now listening to this, just give them a little text and get them to come over and listen, or just share it if you're watching the recording. But, okay, here's what happens. What happens is, if you imagine a neurosynaptic highway in your brain, that neurosynaptic highway is built because you found a really productive way to do something. So if you found a really great way to do something, you'll practice that way of doing it over and over and over again. So let's say you build a neurosynaptic highway about how to make the best brownies, or a neurosynaptic highway about how to be the best kisser, right? Or a neurosynaptic highway. We just build neurosynaptic highways to solve certain issues with little ones. Maybe we have a way of dealing with upset with little ones that we've invented that totally works 100% of the time. I know Jeannie's really good at that, my assistant, right? So, it is a little bit cold here. Can you guys still hear me? Is it okay? So anyways, what happens is this, you guys, that when we get scared of something, or when we have PTSD from something, or when we get severely hurt by someone, or when we are incomplete about something, we build neurosynaptic highways to prevent, protect, and keep that from happening again. Does that make sense? We will build habits in our brain that are new. Basically, your synapses connect in a certain way so that you will go to that preventative mechanism every single time. The problem with that is the deeper truth about life is that there is no need. Everything happens for you. So what happens when you get habits that take you out of flowing what's coming to you, that constantly are based on fears, you become magnetic to what you're afraid of because you're constantly behaving from that fear. I'll give you an example. In my life, when I was little, I was being yelled at a lot for not getting it right. And when I got yelled at for not getting it right, what would happen is I realized that I can't get love or appreciation or inclusiveness unless I get it right. So I became became perfectionistic-y. I developed these habits and methodologies to try to get it constantly right, constantly perfect, constantly that I would get accolades and I would get approval from people. Now, after a while, they got used to it, so even that wasn't enough because they expected me to get it right, expected me to be perfect, expected me to be the one who always... So I had to up the game in other ways. So it was a mechanism to be able to get love or appreciation or some sense of accomplishment, which is kind of funny because none of that gets you love or accomplishment or appreciation, does it? So then what happened is that I realized that I had thousands, that everyone has thousands of those. And we take courses and we go to Landmark and we do all sorts of programs to try to excavate the past and look at why it happened, et cetera, et cetera. But when we analyze the past, what happens is you're in the same frequency as the past. And when you're in the frequency of the past, you're literally giving off photon packages of light that are at the same frequency as the problem. And you never get to the place where you're truly free. Building brain bridges is how you get free. So let me show you how that works as it relates to the neurosynaptic highways, to those habits of thought that are in your brain. They're kind of part of your biology, okay? So you've got a built-in part of your biology that, God bless it, is completely built to try to protect you from scary, horrible, ridiculously dramatic things from happening again, right? That's not a bad thing, temporarily. The problem is we never get on with thriving. Why do brain bridges cause you... Why do brain bridges cause you to actually be able to go direct with consciousness? Why do brain bridges cause you to stop those old habits of thought? Here's how they work. Listen really closely, because if you can get this, there's a powerful thing I want to tell you at the end that is something that we've never done before, okay? So just stay with me. If you ever watched, and I recommend you do if you haven't watched it yet, Jill Bolte Taylor on TED Talks talk about stroke of insight, go and watch it because it pertains to what we're talking about right now. If you watched it, great, it'll give you context for the conversation. When she had a stroke in the left side of her brain. The left side is the part that's responsible for language. It's responsible for logic. It's responsible for figuring out methodologies and rationales and all that kind of stuff. The right side of your brain, when she had the stroke, the left logical part went away. So it was hard for her to speak. It was hard for her to rationalize stuff. She couldn't put two and two together. But the right side of her brain is connected to possibility. It's connected to all that is. It's connected to infinite wisdom. It's entirely connected to creativity and solutions, and it's unbelievable. Okay? So when you solely have your right brain operating, you can't get anything done in a body on a planet in real life, because your left brain is all about 3D. Your right brain is all about the cosmic part of you. It's all about heaven to earth, literally. And in between the two is your corpus callosum, which is the bridge between. That's why I love the term brain bridge, okay? So why is it important to build a brain bridge? Because most people are consistently and constantly operating from the logic and the rationale and the how to stop feeling pain or feeling judged or feeling hurt, or the left brain is trying to figure out logically, without any help from the cosmic brain. It's got all these methodologies for keeping people away. I'll tell you how it looks. You'll know exactly if you do this. You'll be a little bit aloof when people start getting too personal. That is a left brain thing. It's a strategy. You'll get a little bit, like asking everybody else about their own selves when you feel too vulnerable, because you don't want to tell about yourself. So you've developed a strategy. You'll avoid situations where there are groups where you'll have to be intimate, so that you don't ever have to be seen, because when you were seen before, you were hurt. So you'll stop that. You'll avoid being around large groups where there are tons of men because of what happened to you when you were 5. Do you see what I mean? So those are all strategies built by the left brain, but they are not cosmic strategies. They are not vastly deeper, delicious, incredible truths that actually, so listen closely, when you tap into your greater consciousness using your right brain, when you allow your right brain to have access, this is what happens. Your right brain is constantly hearing solutions to the PTSD, the stress, the strain, and the, let's say, the challenging situations that happened before that caused you to have all these protective mechanisms that are keeping you from flying. Your right brain already has connection to solutions that you do not know because you're too busy following the protective mechanisms, like keeping people away, like talking too much, like being the funny person so that you don't ever have to divulge any, deep, dark secret about yourself, or allow yourself to be loved because it'll just be ripped away again. Do you understand? So your right brain already has the solutions. What building a brain bridge does, and for those of you who just joined us, I'm in Sedona, Arizona, and it is stunning. I can't even tell you. I'm in a little vortex talking to you. So what a brain bridge does is it allows you to take all those solutions that solve thousands of stuck belief systems at a time, and it enables you to be able to change the paradigm in which they swim so that you don't have any more interest in the old patterns. It's not about excavating the pattern. So in other words, if we went in and analyzed everything, you're still in the same energy of the thing that you want to get rid of, right? So you're still in the same energy of the very thing that you want to get rid of. And if you're in the same magnetics of the thing you want to get rid of, I promise you, it's going to seem like a struggle and like you're always living that pattern again and again and again. The key to it is to access the right brain and to be able to get into the land where whole other understandings of life exist that would allow you to switch deeply instilled protective mechanisms in hundreds of them in an hour. So it takes skill. It takes powerful question and asking abilities. It takes a willingness to step out of what you're afraid of happening for a moment, which there's a methodology around that as well, okay? To feel safe enough to allow yourself, and sometimes we have sneaky backdoor ways of getting to the right brain solutions. There are solutions that would set you free in an instant. And the reason I wanted to manifest a way to do that, the reason why I was so stuck on that, is I was so damn bored of excavating myself and analyzing myself. I was over it. So let me tell you what happens in a brain bridge. I'm going to give you an example. That's the best way for me to tell you. And then I'm going to tell you about something that we've never done before. So hold on. Okay, so let me give you an example. When I was a little girl, I would work in the basement with my dad. I was 5 years old. He had that ugly wood paneling that so many people put up in their houses. If you still have it, I'm not judging you. Trust me, it's very nostalgic for me. But my dad was a perfectionist because his father was an engineer. And he would take a jigsaw and he would meticulously carve out everything. They had a guy come in and pour a fireplace in the basement. And there was all these shelves and all these different parts to the edge of the, fireplace. So he had to meticulously cut out an exact piece of paneling. And what I did is I came along and I was hammering. I was 5. What did I know? And I hammered off 2 of the corners of that piece of paneling. Well, my father, the perfectionist, who was trying to get it right for his dad, with a pattern that was as old as the hills, yelled at my little 5-year-old, me, just wouldn't stop yelling. He was so upset at me. And that was the beginning of me thinking to myself, my God, in order to get love, this is very uncomfortable. In order to get love, I need to get things right. I need to do them perfectly. But it extrapolated into, over the course of my teenage years, a whole bunch of other things. If I don't do it his way, he gets upset, therefore he doesn't love me. And then I have to figure out a strategy to figure out what his way was. There were so many neurosynaptic highways built in there, it was crazy. So my first brain bridge happened, which I didn't even know it was one, at about 27 years old. And I phoned up my father, and I was so committed to transcend and be free of that, because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life anymore trying to get things perfect. I wanted to play. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to create. I wanted to thrive. I hope you guys are recognizing yourself in this. I just wanted to get over it. And so my first brain bridge happened when I phoned my father up, and I said to him, Dad, I want to apologize for something. He said, what? I said, I've been holding myself separate from you. I've been not phoning you. See, this was the new strategy. Just don't talk to him, and he won't know that I'm not getting it perfect, right? Which is no way to live. You could think of, look at all the strategies I had. One of them was just not to hang out with them, not to talk with them. I would talk to my mother all the time. It's crazy. So what ended up happening is I talked to my dad, and I had a brain bridge moment without knowing I did it. And I said to him, Dad, I'm sorry. I've removed myself from you. What I want with you is I want a relationship. I love you. You're helpful. You're wonderful. You're a good person. And I adore you. And but sometimes I feel like you don't appreciate me, or if I don't do it your way, it's not good enough, or I'm not lovable. So there's dead silence on the other end of the line. And by the way, you do not have to build a brain bridge by phoning the scariest person on earth to you. I'm just giving you an example. In fact, you can build them without having to do that at all. So I'll tell you that in a second. He says to me, Jennifer, after about 30 seconds of very uncomfortable silence. By the way, this is a tough guy who's never told me he loved me, nothing like that. And he says to me, Jennifer, I've never loved a person more, which was almost impossible for him to say. I've never loved a human being more than I love you. And I started to cry. And he said, sometimes I'm a little gruff and I overreact because I'm trying to get it right. Sometimes I'm a little upset because, I'm prone to being hard on my own self. But sometimes being hard on myself spills over onto you. And I was just dead silent. I was flabbergasted. I didn't even know that my father had that much awareness. And in an instant, I realized that I had taken on my father's hard on himselfness And I was living his life as a girl now. Isn't that funny? He lived that way with his father. So this was behavioral patterns and neurosynaptic highways that I inherited. They weren't even mine. So the brain bridge that happened first, that created the context to change my life, was Jennifer. These aren't even decisions about your life that are yours. These are your father's decisions with his father, who was an engineer. You no longer have to take on any of those neurosynaptic highways, because this way of being is not even yours, and your father doesn't even, he loves you anyways. Now, you can see that in an instant I had an awareness that was deeper, that was deeper than an awareness that I had ever had. And I felt hundreds of beliefs and old patterns and old neurosynaptic highways being completely uninteresting to me anymore. And knowing right then and there that I could build new bridges of thriving, because I was not thriving. I was surviving. I was constantly trying to be enough for everybody else. And it's not just the enoughness, it's hundreds of patterns. So now, how do you build a brain bridge for yourself? Well, first of all, hopefully that story helped a few of you. But aside from that, it's accessing greater wisdom that's a deeper truth than the one you're telling yourself, so that the old patterns become uninteresting instead of trying to fix the old patterns. Do you get it? If you try to fix the old patterns, if you try to excavate, if you try to analyze, which is what most programs do, you're going to be in old if you read books about it, you're going to be in old habits for so long. It's going to be quite the struggle. So, here's the thing I wanted to tell you guys. It's possible to build brain bridges yourself. Up until recently, I've been doing the activations of the brain bridges and building them with everyone, and Get Out of Your Way. And Get Out of Your Way, don't get me wrong, is so worth doing, because these are tens of thousands of people's worth of brain bridges being done in all of our programs. Brain bridges that would take you lifetimes to come to. You'd have to work with tens of thousands of people too. But we just announced that we're doing so something just happened for me. And that is that we are going to be in Rhinebeck, New York at the Omega Institute. They asked me to come and teach a program on the summer equinox, which happens to be my birthday. And we are doing, for the first time, an innate abilities class, the advanced innate abilities. And get this, 2 of the innate abilities we're going to be talking about are building brain bridges. We're actually going to teach you how to do what I do and get out of your own way. Teach you how to build your own brain bridges and give you the methodologies, which is one of those innate abilities. And the other one is around being able to shift the energy of any situation where you find stress, any situation that involves others. How do you become alchemical about that? And there are about 5 other innate abilities we're going to do as well. But the main one is going to be about building brain bridges so that you can start on your path of mastery, about building those brain bridges so that you can get back to neutrality and back to the space between the atoms, back to possibility, back to creating upon creation much more quickly, right? Because we're all about you becoming your own guru. So isn't that awesome? I'm so excited. I can't even tell you. So the Omega Institute has been very gracious, and it's probably the lowest price program we're doing all year is at the Omega Institute. So if you've ever wanted to come and work with my team and myself together, if you've ever wanted to do that, then this is a great opportunity. And I will post the link for you guys so you can check it out. All right, so I think we called it Advanced Innate Abilities, or the Academy of Human Superpowers, or something like that, but I will post the exact link. So if you're interested in signing up, it does have a limited number of people. I think we limited it to like 35 people. So yeah, and if you have any questions about that, you can talk to Susanna, Divine Order at thewideawakening.com, including innate abilities. People there will also get the recording of those newest innate abilities, which is so super cool, because we'll do 5 new ones together that are the evolutions upon what's happened before, so that we can again be on the fast track of our awakening, so we can stay on that leading edge curve and live without the drama that so many are going through right now. When you're on that leading edge curve, it becomes exhilarating and fun, and you begin to thrive. This is all about moving from the operating system of survival to thriving. So if you are up for that, that is what's happening. Finally, I'm going to give you 3 questions that will kind of get you started around building brain bridges. Okay? 3 questions that will soften the patterns. One question is this pattern even mine? Then go to see whose pattern it actually is. That's the first thing. The second question around building brain bridges is, am I willing to be free of these patterns? Now, you might think that's like, well, duh, of course I'm willing. Really look, because what you're looking for is, what am I getting out of this? What am I getting out of staying in this pattern? So the last question is, how is my thriving? What's possible for thriving if this pattern was gone? So those are the first 3 questions with respect to building brain bridges. The actual statements that are connected to your right brain, where you can have ahas that transmute hundreds of beliefs, that is, you've got to do the work that I just said, the 3 questions first, and then there's a whole methodology. And quite honestly, it would take me 3 days, like we're going to be in Rhinebeck, New York, to tell you how to build a brain bridge. But I wanted you to know how it worked and why it's so powerful in the first place, so that when you get to Rhinebeck, you're already activated. I cannot wait to see you there. I will post the link in the description box above. I will also post a link down below in the comments for you guys if you want to sign up for that program. All right, you guys? Okay. I love you, love you, love you, love you. Okay. And have the best rest of your day.